So it is 50-50. The profit is our 50-50 share. Of course, we have to maintain the quality service. Your name will be spoiled. That's the most important. Now you get Dr. answer how to enrich your clinical practice.
Colleagues, seniors of the profession, and dear friends. There is a saying which you will never miss in any of the classes on lifestyle improvement or business management, where they say successful people don't do anything differently. It's only that they do regular things in a different fashion, which has a unique value, in fact a unique and very pertinent points regarding the way we have been practicing ophthalmology from our student days, from our junior consultant days, from our senior consultant days, and from our ownership days. Everything has changed. We can understand the surgical theatre has totally changed. Patient mentality has totally changed. Doctor-patient relationship has changed. Consumer protection has added up all the burden. Yet one thing that has never changed is the way we do refraction. We delegate it to the most dingy corner of our hospital center. It is done in a small aluminium partition way. And if you notice, in fact, I asked one of the most senior and most successful practitioners in Chennai. He said, I don't change all these things, but these things have sentimental value. He believes it has sentimental value. If you notice the trial frame, it will be almost worn out. Most of the lenses will also be worn out. The numbers in the lenses will be like as numbers in the old typewriters. You just presume that they are -2 and -0.25 will not be much different. And if you are going to do something very more bent like the Jackson cross cylinder, think what you will feel if this is being done to you. Think what you will feel. Now we don't want, in fact, our patients don't want treatment. We have moved from disease management to wellness management. Patients are already well. Patients are very much perfect. They just want improvement on their perfection. That is what they seek us for. At least, if you notice, around 60 to 70% of refraction practice will be for patients who come to you not just because they don't see better. It's because they want something fashionable. It's because they want something which adds on to their professional style and professional output. So in that way, the talk on modern refraction will be how we can change this with the changing times. How we can change this to make it more presentable to our patients. And the first thing I'll suggest to you is a phoropter. A phoropter looks very impressive. Take it from me, if you use a phoropter, you can use it at least in the beginning for all your VIP patients. VIP patients, as we know, are of two kinds. VIPs who are really VIPs. And of course, the very irritating patients. I use VIP as an acronym in my case for the very irritating patients, or rather the very discerning and very choosy patients who have seen it all. They would have seen at least 3 or 4 ophthalmologists in the area. They know what the strengths and weaknesses of each ophthalmologist in the area is. And so they have come to test you. In fact, you think you are testing their eyes. In fact, I strongly believe they are testing your skills in action and practice. So to do that, change from a regular lens case to a phoropter has huge advantages. The advantages are not necessarily aesthetic. They are, of course, very aesthetic, but at least there are huge advantages in the real sense that you can put in cylinders, take out cylinders in front of the eye with just a knob rotation. The patient never realizes what is happening. The patient just keeps telling you whether he sees better or not. He doesn't speak anything else. You allow a patient to speak something else other than this. During refraction, you will need an aspirin at the end of the refraction. The patient should only say whether he sees better or not. If he starts seeing, put that previous lens doctor, put this after lens doctor, there are one of my patients will say, you put that 4th lens you put before this doctor. How will you ever remember the 4th lens before this? So all this can be done very nicely with this phoropter. It has everything. It just doesn't have the spherocylindrical combination alone. It has a stenopic slit, it has an astigmatic Jackson cross cylinder you can use, use everything, almost everything in the refraction armamentarium to do a good and neat refraction and to get a good prescription for the patient is available without the patient needing to move out of anything. They can sit in the seat. The patient sits in the seat. In fact, our chair unit today is supposed to have that singular advantage. You want the patient to sit and do everything. You want to do slit lamp, you want to do an IDD, you want to do an indirect, you want to do everything in that chair unit. Probably a day will come in even that cataract surgery will be done in the chair unit in the OP clinic. But the refraction can also be added to this chair unit practice. The patient doesn't get anywhere else. In fact, we can have 2 chair units in our clinic, where one chair unit you speak to the patient and the refraction starts doing the refraction. You can move to the other chair unit and see the next patient. So the patient very much thinks he is well within your purview, not delegated to an ancillary room in your practice where a junior optometrist tries to speak to him and get a good prescription. A video on this will be more enlightening. Most of the things are just movements of the dial. The spheres can be added, the cylinders can be added, cylinders can be refined. You can do almost everything. And I think there is nothing that you cannot do with a phoropter which a regular trial set and the regular refraction ancillaries can do. All these can be done with a lot of finesse. Probably you will need to train somebody. I strongly urge you to get something like this and at least keep it to the most discerning patients of yours. Not necessarily for every patient who comes to your clinic. At least to patients who are the opinion makers in your area, who you very well know that you need to have a good word from that patient. If you have a bad word from that patient, then it will affect your practice. Such kind of a people, you can use this because sure, this will be a difference from the area. The other practitioners might not have it. So that will give you a huge advantage. The second thing I urge you to have is this I think all of us have slowly shifted to, from the regular Snellen chart, from the drum which we had a cord to pull, from the drum or the regular Snellen chart where we had a stick to show the optotype. Now we went on to remote controlled Snellen chart. You can use a nice unit which can show you fantastically exactly what you want. The chart projector can show you exactly what you want. You can show the 6-12 line and make the patient believe that he sees 6-6. The patient will not ask you another question. He will never know that there is a 6-6 line. Because for him, the last line is important. You show the regular Snellen chart, you are finished. The patient doesn't get out of the chair unless he reads also the maker of the Snellen chart. Why is Snellen chart originally and small manufacturer logo beneath it, and every patient went unsatisfied because they never could read that. So that kind of problems you won't have. And of course, these projectors can also project everything you want. You can project pictures for children. You can project optotypes for illiterate people. You can even project Ishihara's chart. You can project fundus diagrams. You can project fundus photography, cataract photography. Everything you want, you can project. So you can also do this mini counseling which you do to the patients, finish off here itself. You can show them, if you see the moderate diabetic retinopathy on the patient, you can throw a picture of it on the screen and discuss with it, and patient might as well think that it is his picture. You need not worry about it. It in fact adds to the effect. So you can throw these pictures and show them what it is. Everything is programmable. One another huge advantage is our clinic space can shrink. It need not be that original 6 or 3. It can be lesser than that also, because these charts can be programmed to the distance we want. It can be to any distance. So that gives also a huge advantage. It can also show you the PETA charts. It can show you the contrast sensitivity chart if you want. It can show you the ETDRS chart you want. But of course, those things will not apply to regular refraction. But at least, as I told you, to patients who have traveled very much. I see most of our the age-old illiterate parties in my area have gone to US, have gone to Australia, have gone to UK for their children's delivery or something, and had their eye tested there. So they come here and sit and watch whether you do it with that same finesse. And so even the illiterate patients in our clinic today are more discerning and more choosy and more demanding. And in that sense, these charts help. A small video on how it works. There is even an app for it. You can even download it. It nicely shows on the screen exactly what you want the patient to see. It doesn't show everything, so that the patient starts in the back of his mind. It creates a feeling that he should read the last line. That makes the whole consultation between you and the patient that much difficult. Show lines which you prefer to be shown, and the patient will read it, and that way he'll be very happy. Other things slowly we have adapted to already. An autorefractometer we always have, all of us have. In fact, our AR with K we have started having, because once I was thinking, as A-scan developed, keratometry didn't develop. If you notice, A-scan is a more electronic equipment, but the keratometer was still the mechanical equipment. And patients were sat on a keratometer, a hair reading was taken, and then a A-scan was done. And that slowly was a bit taxing for the patients, because these adjustment of the keratometer, the conventional mechanical keratometer, changed to digital keratometers. And these digital keratometers, as you see in the left-hand corner, are very nice, very, very beautiful. All you need to do is just keep it away from the patient and focus that ring on the patient's cornea. It will auto-sense and take a K and give you a K. And that K will also be very nice, and the axis and all, it will show very genuinely and very fine. But now today, I think most of us tend to have an AR with K. That also gives a very good reading, because most of the patients will go on to need a contact lens, will go on to need a refractive procedure, or will need a IOL calculation. For all these, they are important. In fact, frame selection need not be a frame selection which is done in the real sense, where the patient puts every frame on his face, looks at the mirror. Most of your myopes don't see well, so they put a glass on their face and try to look at the mirror. Somebody has to hold the mirror so very close to them. Or certain times the patient has a feeling of discomfort on their mind, and so the frame selection doesn't get as comfortable, even in a very good ambient optical room which you have. So today we have computerized frame selection. Patient can sit in front of the computer, choose whatever frame there is available in your stocks, and put it on their face and see. Then once they come to a choice that this will suit me, then in that way, that particular model, certain frames of different colors and different sizes can be shown to them, and from that they can do the final choice. Children will get very impressed with whatever I told you. All this will surely impress children very much more than, if not adults, very much more. So attracting and holding on to children patients, pediatric patients are very important, as we all know, because they bring us the whole family back to us. Not you do a good cataract surgery on the grandmother of a family, not much you will get back. But you correct the good flecular conjunctivitis in the newborn of the family, the family will stay with you. I think I didn't tell you, all of you know that. So to attract the children and to retain that patient base is very important. So slowly we'll have to shift. At least in a principal sense, if not in a real sense. In a mindset change should be there, from doing refraction the conventional way to doing refraction with certain of the new technological developments that have happened in this area. As I told you, if you are interested, you can start it up as at least for certain of your patients, whom you can even charge more. And those patients, if they like it, then you can make it more wider for all your patients. Certain days, we'll have one clinic where we'll have everything. We'll do everything almost in that single chamber of ours, as a studio apartment. Today, every apartment is a studio apartment. Likewise, I think we'll go to a stage where we have studio clinics. Where is the question? I'm sure all of you, at least in a mindset way, think that it's necessary for us to get. If it is, then the lecture is a success.
To have all these modalities, so it's a very beautiful clinic.
Not surely that much as you will upgrade. In fact, most of it is indigenous. The eye chart, the projectors are very indigenous. Almost all the indigenous companies in India have a projectors. In In fact, they have shifted from projectors to the LCD TVs, which serve the same purpose. So there is no need for a projector. You can have a LCD screen which can show everything. So that way, changing the Snellen chart is just costing you another I think 50 to 75,000 rupees. It's that much only. The phoropters, the bigger ones are a bit costly. I think they cost somewhere around 3 lakhs rupees. But indigenous phoropters are available for lesser price, of somewhere around 75 to 1 lakh. Indigenous phoropters are available. I think you can start up with this. Not much investment. Not much.
I mean 10 lakhs rupees minimum.
10 lakh will not be needed. I think a couple of 3 lakhs will add on whatever I told you. If you add the auto care, probably that you will already have. So I think 3 lakhs will be enough. But 3 lakhs is good money which you can take out of your optical practice. Optical practice, take it from me, ladies and gentlemen, will quadruple the per day revenue you take from your clinic. It will quadruple it. If you are earning 1,000 rupees per, yes, I'll finish my point. If you earn 1,000 rupees per evening practice, you have an optical outlet, your take home per day will be 4,000 rupees. It's as simple as that. Whether you accept it, deny it, whether you keep thinking of excuses for not doing it, that is your own choice. But I strongly believe it makes sound financial sense to do it. Yes, sir.
One question.
Yeah, I have got a projector chart
Yes,
and everything being configured
Yes,
to a lesser space.
Yes, sir.
I believe that is not scientifically correct. Principally because when you say that the vision has to be measured at 20 feet, I think the vision has to be measured at 20 feet. Any charts which come closer than that, a 10 feet charts, they are configured for this. Now this configuration is based, I think, on the angle subtended to the eye. Is that right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
Subtended to the eye is the same. However, the accommodation that the eye does to focus on that point is different. Now 20 feet is assumed to be a infinity. Now when a person focuses at 10 feet, he is using point something of accommodation. Now you get that vision chart closer than 10 feet and say instead of 3 meters, you make it say 2.5 meters. So instead of 10 feet, you get it at 8 feet. You are using that much more of accommodation. So a person seeing a vision chart at 8 feet is using that much more accommodation, though the angle subtended to the eye is the same. Therefore, he is not really focused for 200 feet. So I think this vision chart coming closer is a wrong concept. And you as optometrist, I'm glad I attended this lecture because this is something I want to bring to the ophthalmologist and to the optometrist, that no, your vision chart has to be at 20 feet because with the vision chart at 8 feet, when you give final correction, when he starts driving on the road, he will not get a good vision for 200 feet. What
is there anybody in this audience that we accept? No?
Correct. So 10 feet with a mirror is 20 feet. What I have an objection to is keeping the vision chart there at 10 feet and then asking him to focus.
20 feet just like that and a mirror with 10 feet is equal?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
That is the image at 20 feet. But the chart.
That's a point well taken, sir. I think it's in deep physics, but I strongly believe that I've been practicing with this vision unit. My clinic is 3 feet.
Go back.
3 feet distance. I use the 3 feet chart.
3 meter chart.
3 meter chart.
Still today I find it. Please go back and look at the physics of that. Because
probably.
Yeah, because you ask the patient, you focus there at 10 feet, and ask him to look out of the window, you'll find the difference.
Sir, your accommodation with 10 feet with the mirror.
10 feet with mirror.
Because there is solar you are seeing, so that is ineffective 20 feet.
Yeah, so actually what means, this is something which I want to bring to you, and you should bring to the optometrists and the chart people also. That
for adult it is okay, after presbyoptic age it is okay.
Yeah, after 40 it is fine.
Okay.
After 40 it is fine, it doesn't make too
Below
much of
40
a
it is
difference.
a problem.
But below 40 it makes a difference. Yeah.
So suddenly somebody enters the room. Every time you're doing refraction, I have to say, please move, madam.
No. In my consulting room also, when I fitted the vision
Yes,
chart,
sir.
that optician, that means
True,
the
sir.
chair unit fellow came and
Yes,
told
sir.
me, sir, that is here and the vision chart is in this corner. Now calculate the diagonals. So actually, in my consulting also there is a mirror, but it is a diagonal mirror, and I tell the patient don't look at the vision chart because they can see the vision chart directly also. It's like a funny concept, but I have made it 20 feet.
There was also an interesting because probably he wants to establish a 10-meter perfection from the eye cornea to that after time, probably, sir. But practical considerations might not hold on to all these things, but at least surely the physical considerations and what the sir says is a beautiful point. I should ponder on it, I should think on it, and I'll probably add it to the next.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shagar. We have on computer vision.
Here I will try to concentrate on the optical part of the computer vision syndrome. I don't have any financial interest, even though I am showing some of the computer vision syndrome. It is defined as a complex of eye and vision problems that are experienced during and related to the computer use. You know that it's a repetitive time disorder. The first question rises is, and most of the patients ask, sorry for that. Whether there is radiation from the computer, and most of the patients attribute everything to the radiation. But to our knowledge, with the scientific evidence, there is not much of radiation coming out of the computer. With the light amplitude being charted against the horizontal location, the picture shows a bell-shaped curve. While the same light amplitude graph is on a printed matter, it shows in a perfect square. So that's the difference. So everywhere the brightness is not the same. In a pixel-based image, the eyes cannot focus and remain in that plane. So instead of that, it goes into a point called resting point of accommodation. So this resting point of accommodation is beyond the screen level. So that it is going to that point, then again coming and focusing on the screen level. So it is a repetitive thing. It goes on changing and it produces fatigue. So this is the one which is straining the eye muscles. So you will have the feeling of tired eye. So what are the patient's complaints? They will have multiple complaints. Some of them will have a double vision. Some of them will tell you that there is a temporary nearsightedness. After working in a computer for a long time, if they look through the window, they will tell that its images are blurred. Then they definitely will have dry eye, photophobia, then definitely the common symptom of headache, redness, watering. Then associated with that thing, they will have neck pain, backache, all sorts of things. How will you approach this thing? There is a 3B approach, that is to blink, breathe and break. So what about the blinking? Usual blinking, you are aware, it is told to 15 times per minute. When you are excited, your blinking rate will go up. When you are talking, sometimes your blinking rate will go up. The children comes with a frequent blinking with some of the psychological tension. And the blinking rate comes down when you are reading, thinking, especially when you are using computers. So if you rest it for some time, actually it rebates, and if you are blinking more frequently, it again helps. The breathing exercises are there to relieve so many strains, and that is applicable for the computer use also. There are yoga, other exercises and everything. Actually, if you knowingly breathe even and steady way, then that will relax your eye muscles also. Breaks, you can call it is different with the different terms, micro breaks, mini breaks and maxi breaks. These are all just a basic classification. Micro breaks, we call it as 10 seconds in every 10 minutes. Mini breaks around 5 minutes per 1 hour. So we have to discuss this thing with the patient. So what is possible in your working pattern. main aspect of this presentation is about computer glasses. What type of glasses we have to give to a person, and the person usually expects a glass from you. So, when the patient comes and asking about a computer glass, or they have strain whether you want to prescribe a computer glass, and they will tell you that I am having headache after using computer, and that is actually your headache also, because it's very, very difficult problem to solve. Many of these patients will be above the age of 40 years, and monitor falls in the intermediate zone, or this testing point is another problem. So we can use glasses to reduce the glare, as already Dr. Andrews and always mentioned. There are many branded glasses to reduce the glare. This Dr. Andrews also showed. This is for the single users, single power, and for the progressive lenses. But a regular progressive is not that suitable. You have to select the proper progressive glasses for that thing. This is again the same slide of Andrews has shown. It actually improves your anti-reflective coatings will improve that person's look also, and person can have a glare-free vision also. How we can manage the computer glasses? For a presbyopic, you can add clip-on glasses and other types of glasses. The main question most of the time we discuss actually is whether a person below the age of 40 years is coming with a lot of problems, whether we have to prescribe any glasses for that person. Of course, anti-glare glasses are one choice, but this type of glasses is what is shown here is a rimless plus 0.25 diopter power glass. If you prescribe that type of glass, plus 0.25 glass, the idea is not to add any magnification. He can read, there is no problem. But definitely he will have a little large image. But the idea is to reduce his resting point of accommodation, so that his muscle need not to strain that much if he is using for a long period. As I described earlier, the eye focuses on the resting point of accommodation, then comes back to the screen. So that distance will be reduced. So to some extent his strain will be reduced. Then we can use the flip focals that we can add according to the distance of the computer screen as well as according to the age of the patients. You can select it. Then you can, instead of clip-ons, you can use the clip-ons. There are many clip-ons available. You can have anti-reflective coatings on that thing. Again, this is positive powers, depends upon the computer screen distance as well as the patient age you have to select. As we have already mentioned, regular progressives with a very narrow intermediate zone, if you prescribe it, definitely the patient is going to come back, because they will have a lot of problems. This is only a small area in the central, and he will have a neck problem, he will have head problem, many problems. So if you are selecting a progressive, you should be having a wider zone. So the problem with the wider zone is most of them are expensive, or you have to go to a specific occupational progressive lenses with a very wide central zone. So our present difficulties are, there are not proper, very suitable glasses, and which are available are really costly also. So we can try some alternative methods like the clip-ons. We can, the regular bifocals, instead of that thing, you can have a clip-on or on the top part, so that patient will be comfortable. This you have to decide if the person is using computer for a very long period. Some bank employees and all we can try. Then alternative to glasses, suppose you fail in all these glasses, then you have to think about, or the patient refuses this type of glasses, he says it looks little awkward. Then you have to increase the monitor sizes, you can increase the letter size, you can increase the distance of the computer. So keep these monitors little below so that the dryness will be less. Suppose you keep the monitor on the higher on the table, then patient has to open the eye widely so that the dryness will increase, his problem will increase. And you can use the screen magnifiers like a Bosch PC magnifier. Again, there are glasses also for that thing. There are different methods to solve a computer vision syndrome. The basic thing of solving the computer vision syndrome is to discuss with the patient. Tell, these are all the options we have. We can use glasses, we can use the adjustment in the workstation. And the selection should be after discussing with the patient. Because what you select, sometimes the patient won't like it. So definitely, the better way is to visit their workstation. Suppose 1 or 2 visits you are not able to manage it, then you have to tell, okay, you yourself or your optometrist can visit the site, or you can have a computer vision team. They can visit that place and you can have the adjustment. And you have to again remember that sometimes the patient will be telling about so many eye problems, but basic problem will be with the ergonomics. So we have to assess the workstation properly. Common complaints will be back and neck ache due to incorrect workstation design, chair position, angle of the monitor. This can also lead to SNOP, as I mentioned. So workstation, these are the points you have to concentrate about: the lighting, the glare coming to that screen, the flickers, color contrast, ergonomics, posture, work tables and desk, environmental conditions, etc. The screen brightness and contrast should be adjusted by the operator for the maximum view. You can ask the patient, say, you adjust your screen, you reduce or increase the power and see which light you are more comfortable. And there is a rule that the workstation lighting should be 10:3. So that the screen characters are 10 times brighter than the screen background. You can see that the background I have selected here is a blue background, so that the background is not that brighter. Instead of that, if I select a complete white background, if you are working on a software which is giving you a total white background, he is working from morning to evening, he will have more strain. So we have to try to adjust that type of things. And room illumination should be 3 times more. And then these are all the common things. Locate the keyboard such a way that your wrist and overarms are parallel to the floor. Chair should provide proper back support and be adjustable, because sometimes many people will be using the same chair. Adjust the height of your chair so that the feet rest comfortably on the floor. Knees are about the level with the hips. So this will be an ideal posture, so that patient person will be very much relaxed and he can work for a longer period. And you have to remember all these things add to his eye problems. So lighting, as I mentioned about the glare, you have to see that the top light, if it comes and hit on the computer screen and reflects from that thing, or it hit on the patient specs, glasses, then again he will have problem. You will be changing the glasses from every month, but he won't have any comfort on. Clean the computer screen regularly. Ask to have short breaks. Suppose there is a window on the side and the light is coming directly reflecting to the computer screen, then you will have all sorts of problems. Then you have to put any curtains or drapes, whatever is possible in that situation, and reorient the workstation if necessary. Most offices have too much of light sometimes, and again that is going to produce problems. Then you imagine a situation like this: patient is near the window and his computer screen is on the window area, then he will have all sorts of problems, even if you are changing the glasses. So he has to change from that position. So you have to see, that's a very important thing. You have to visit the work site. Your optometrist or someone, you should train them and you should visit the work site. And we have to eliminate all screen reflections. We have different methods to eliminate all these screen reflections. And you have to remember that laptop computers are not for regular use. If you are using it regularly, you will have some time problems. So it's only for the mobile when you are moving. So you can adjust the computer screen, you can make the computer screen a little more away, so that again reduces. As I mentioned, if you use a plus 0.25 glasses, it reduces the strain. Similar way, Instead of that, you put the computer screen also a little away, so that reduces the weight. So you have to be comfortable in the PC, and thank you very much for it.
The computer, I mean, I'm not completely convinced because
the reflection actually, both sides of the reflection. Now, another thing is, like in any other situation, if the light reflects, suppose you imagine there is a light there, it gets reflected in from your specs. You know that we will have a spec, not only in computer, everywhere. If you are going in the daylight, very bright light you will have. So that all adds to the problem, because another source is if there is a bright screen in front of you, that itself acts as a light that is going to reflect it from your glass. So that is going to add to your problem.
no, the question is whether we do want all the rays of light coming from the screen into the eye.
Yeah.
Do we want all the rays of light coming
Yeah.
from the screen into the eye? Will it be a little better if some of the light from the computer was allowed to reflect away rather than everything enter into the eye? Now, when we are looking at an outdoor scenario, that is a different story, because we do want all the light to come in, coming in anyway. Now, if all that light comes into the eye, we are getting into a situation where the image clarity is tried to be made very, very sharp. Now that, again, it's my opinion, that it will, fatigue. The rods and cones will get fatigued because the image is becoming very, very sharp. And it will be better and it will cause less fatigue if anti-reflective coatings are not used and some of the light is allowed from the computer is allowed to reflect away.
Sir, if you have a aircon beyond, the glare and reflection will be avoided. So the screen will become more perfect and more sharp and everything. So it is better to have
whether a really sharp image will cause more retinal fatigue, and therefore it is better to have a lesser from the computer point of view to allow some of the light to go away and not have 99%. In fact, have just 95% of the light coming into the eye and allow 5% to go away rather than get the additional 4% inside.
The ARC is a mercury fluoride coating which is made on the surface of the lens.
No. I understood that. My question
what
is...
it does, yes sir, I'm trying to explain it.
Okay.
What it does is, it destructively interferes with the refraction of light. If light is going to scatter from a surface, then your photoreceptors will strain more to pick the image, because it will have a noise of images. If light is going to scatter from a surface, then that's why laser is better, because it's polarized light or unipolarized light. That way, what ARC does is, it allows light inside more, but not the noise of that light, or rather the scatterings of that light. That is the advantage of ARC. That is why if you see a headlight through a non-ARC light and the ARC light, as the photos show.
No, I accept everything about outdoor. Headlights,
same thing.
Everything
Same
except computers.
Yeah, same thing. That the headlight light is not filtered by the ARC. It's not like, as you say, 95% of the incident light is allowed inside. In the computer also, more light enters, it's good only, sir. I don't think it's bad. But the scattering and the...
Thank you.
We're going to start. Legal power or anything.
Hello. Can you prescription? I just want the spectacle. I mean, what are the types of spectacle? What are the types?
So same program. We made a book in the book. We call selection of spectacle frame and lens and all these things incorporated the book, and it is given to JP Brothers. In future, it will come as a test book. So we are trying to release as a book by JP Brothers.
Okay.
It will come.
What is the name of the book?
It's called the Refraction 21st Century. Okay. Stay.
Repeat first the cataract. This will be followed by community and social, then the cornea, then glaucoma, then orbitoplasty, and then vitreoretinal diseases.
Judges and colleagues. The next gen pupil-dilating device can be inserted and removed through a point-line incision, which no device has been able to achieve, and I'm Suven Bhattacharya from Kolkata. I have no financial interest in the device at present, Pupil expansion rings dilate the pupil, prevent constriction, and reduce iris prolapse. Older rings had limitations with smaller pupils and shallow anti-bimanual or coaxial MICs, both of which are known to suppress iris prolapse in IFIS. A 2.2 mm corneal incision for a 25 gauge, 23 gauge, or a 20 gauge small pupil vitrectomy is undesirable and self-defeating. A thinner profile ring would be preferred in shallow anterior chambers. Now, a ring that can be inserted through a smaller incision would definitely reduce the risk of infection in femto small pupil phaco because the femto laser is done in a non-sterile zone after the insertion of a malignant ring through a 2.2 or 2.75 incision. The purpose of this paper is to evaluate new pupil dilating devices for the smallest incision required, efficacy in dilating pupil, and safety. Ethical committee approval and informed consent was obtained. The pupil size was recorded on the slit lamp. Less than 5 mm pupils were included, and less than 6 mm pupils were also included when there was a history of tamsulosin intake or IFIS in the other eye. 33 small pupil eyes were operated in January and August 2013. Pre-op pupil size and endothelial counts were done. Post-op on day 1 and 7, pigment dispersion, pupil shape, sphincter tear, and iris atrophy was noted. And on day 30, in addition, endothelial counts was also done. The Bhattacharjee ring is made of 5-0 nylon, 0.1 mm thin profile, flexible, resilient, slim joint. The hexagon is equally slim and flexible. The insertion is easy through a 2.2 incision. The notches straighten as they pass through the 0.9 incision, and alternate flanges are tucked under the iris, either unimanually with a 23 gauge forceps or bimanually with a 23 gauge forceps and an iris hook. Now this is a bimanual MICs in progress. The next one is a coaxial with a wound-assisted insertion of the IOL, and then we will measure off the size of this square enlarged pupil and the rexus. This is a hard cataract, a hexagon device, and we will measure off the hexagonal pupil with the calipers. The two notches are disengaged, and the ring is simply pulled out of the side port or the main phaco incision, and the ring comes out intact, and we have a round pupil at the end of the surgery. After a safe insertion through 2.2 incision in 10 eyes, we used a 1.5 for the next 10 and then a 0.9 for the rest. Smaller rings were used for smaller eyes. The incision was enlarged to 2.2 or larger for the IOL insertion. Insertion, removal, stability, and complications were noted. Pupil and capsular rexus size was measured. The ring was removed through the phaco incision in 28 eyes and through the side port in 5 eyes. IFIS was graded according to the Chang scale. This is the master table, but I am presenting only the important results. 33 eyes, 17 squares, and 16 hexagons. Average pupil pre-op 4.1, enlarged to 5.7. Average rexus 4.9. There was no snagging of the incision, no obstruction of instruments. Device was stable throughout the surgery, and floppiness was restricted by the anterior flanges. We had sphincter tears in 2 eyes with small and rigid pupils. We had an iatrogenic iridodialysis and hyphema, but that cannot be attributed to the device. We had a round pupil in 31 eyes. There was no significant endothelial cell loss, pigment dispersion, or iris atrophy. Those are the results in a square pupil, a round pupil at the day 7, and then we have a hexagonal pupil, a device with a round pupil at the 7th day. This was very gratifying. The other eye was blind due to angle closure glaucoma. This eye had a peripheral iodectomy 20 years, anterior chamber depth only 1.72 millimeters. We used a hexagon device, no endothelial touch, post-op day 7, round pupil, unaided 6-9. In conclusion, Bhattacharjee rings can be inserted and removed through 0.9 incisions, can effectively and safely dilate the pupil. A hexagon is preferred in small eyes. This is useful for standard as well as MICs. Standard phaco as well as MICs. Small pupil vitrectomy, shallow anterior chamber, femto small pupil phaco. Though an injector is not available, it's not absolutely necessary. Now, the prolonged malignant ring floats in BSS. So if the ring disengages and there is only BSS in the anterior chamber, it will knock the endothelium. The Bhattacharjee ring wouldn't do that. And because of the thicker profile, it precludes its use in shallow anterior chambers. The scrolls of the malignant ring act as a torsion and compression spring. They could unpredictably crush or release the pupillary margin. The scrolls also snag the incision and the insulator and could really twist wildly and lead to a messy situation. Mechanical devices like the malignant ring incur additional surgical time and expense. The Bhattacharjee rings are not only easier and faster to use, the simple design allows them to be made by plastic molding or stamping, and a truly continuous ring with no joints can be manufactured. This would translate to faster production, reduced cost, and less financial burden. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer your questions.
One is that if the incident size through which this ring can be inserted is 0.9, but at the end, how it scores in terms of the incident over the other devices.
That's why in my initial introduction, I did say the indications were 1.4 incision.
The usual method of the paper that you are following in your series.
I have shown in this particular series. It was
there is, I think, you have not been doing bimanual for this series.
Not for this series, no.
So it is for the regular phaco surgery that you might be using this device under discussion. If you make a 2 mm incision or 2.2 mm incision for the purpose of implantation of the IOL, you can use the same size incision for the insertion or implantation of the other devices also.
Yes, sir.
Such as Maligan ring.
Yes, sir. But Maligan ring, for those who, if you use it, so you'll see that it's extremely difficult to use for 2.2 also. It often requires a 2.5 incision and while the inserter is going in. So in any case, we require something for a smaller incision, and a smaller incision is always safe. You can use it to the side port in case you're having iris prolapse to the main wound, and you want to go to the side port with the device. You could use this.
Fine. The second question, you do not have any control for this presentation. Maybe you could have used the Maligan ring as a second arm for.
Right. I agree with you fully.
So there is another device.
So this I mentioned in my study in the methods. This is a prospective case series. This is not a controlled trial. So in the prospective case series, I do agree that it comes below in the evidence pyramid. But then this is what it is at the present moment. We're going for a controlled trial much later. Thanks.
The pupil dilated throughout.
Yes, sir. It is stiffer than polypropylene. If you want, I can provide you a chart which shows the difference between polypropylene and nylon. Nylon is a much stiffer material and has got blood. Absolutely.
And another question is that did you come across any problems while performing the surgery? Because you were using it for the first time.
Yes, sir.
Day one you must not have.
No. I have done 54 eyes now.
What were the problems compared to the Maligan?
Sir, if you have been following, I presented a video also here where initially I started with an open ring, and now I've moved over to a closed ring because it has got a lot of advantages. That apart, in this particular case, the only problem once I faced in one eye which had a very rigid pupil, that it made the ring elongated. So I just had to use two Kugler hooks and push them apart. Small sphincter tears did occur, but then I had a well dilated pupil. Apart from that, I've not really had any issues. NW3316. 509 off. 0.1 millimeter thickness.
Okay, fine.
And I make this device myself. Sir.
You put a knot?
No, sir, it's glued. Medical grade glue.
Which
cyanoacrylate glue. Medical grade cyanoacrylate glue.
You can't use cyanoacrylate to inside the.
So cyanoacrylate after curing is safe, and all medical devices use medical grade cyanoacrylate. This is medical grade cyanoacrylate, not the Fevikwik that is available in the market. This is medical device grades. And after it's cured, there is no toxicity of cyanoacrylate. When it's not cured, that's when it's liquid form, then it's toxic. Once it's cured, that's dry, it's not toxic. I have checked the FDA requirements for this, the ISO requirements for this.
Okay, and you obtained this glue from.
IMAX is the glue that I'm using. That's internationally used. It's pretty expensive.
Any time this ring has broken during surgery?
No, sir. During manufacture, yes, but not during surgery. Because they are tested well before sending them for ETO, they tested well for the strength.
Thank you. A very good morning to the judges and the audience. The topic of my presentation today is the comparison of optical quality of a piggyback multifocal IOL with that of a primary multifocal IOL. We have no financial disclosures. So all this started when a 63-year-old male presented to us with dimness of vision in his left eye due to cataract. He had a history of undergoing cataract surgery in his right eye 2 years earlier with implantation of a monofocal aspheric IOL. The patient was very keen on spectacle independence and was asking for multifocal IOL. So the plan for his left eye was obvious. We would do a cataract surgery and implant a multifocal. The other option would have been to implant an intracorneal implant, but we don't do this at our center, so we couldn't offer it to the patient. And the last option was what we went for, which was implanting a sulcus fixated piggyback multifocal lens with an opposite clear corneal incision to compensate for the minus 0.75 diopter astigmatism that he had. So this is a video that's showing the procedure being done. So initially marking was done on the steep axis for the incision and to make the opposite clear corneal incision that we had planned. Once that is done, the IOL is simply loaded. and then injected into the eye, after which it just needs to be dialed in place. So these are the images of the eye at the end of 1 month. The patient was very happy as such. He had 6/6 and N6 vision in both eyes. But however, he did maintain that the vision in the right eye was not as good as the other eye, which had the primary multifocal IOL. So this triggered us to study the optical quality in both his eyes. So our aim was to objectively compare the optical quality for secondary piggyback multifocal lens. In this case, it was the Sulcoflex by Rayner. And with the primary diffractive multifocal IOL, in this case it was the Restore by Alcon. So we studied the same on 4 machines, the OPD3 by Nidec, iTrace by Tracy Technologies, the C-Quant by Oculus, and OCAS by Visuometrics. So if you can see here, these are the scans of the patient before implantation of the Sulcoflex. What one can see here is the total internal aberrations of the eye before implanting the Sulcoflex. And the corneal and internal aberrations are also within normal limits, which compare well with the other eye. So both eyes at this point are comparable as far as higher order aberrations are concerned. However, after implantation of the Sulcoflex, the total higher order aberrations in the right eye increased. And this was mostly contributed by the internal aberrations that went up in the eye after the Sulcoflex implantation. We compare the same on the iTrace. If one can notice, the internal aberrations are showing slightly higher values here, which translate to the total higher order aberrations in the eye with the piggyback lens. However, the eye with the primary multifocal IOL seemed to do quite well and was within normal limits. So this is just a comparison of the iTrace of both eyes, showing the internal optics and the higher order aberrations in the right eye with the piggyback lens as compared to the other eye. And then we did an optical quality analysis for the patient, and then we found that all 3 parameters, which is the objective scatter index, the modulation transfer function, and the Stirls ratio, were much worse in the eye with the piggyback lens. So this is a comparison that the machine gives. If one can see here in the right eye, the eye with the Sulcoflex, the light is scattered, so it's not focusing to one point. So this gives his objective scatter index, which means it's much worse than the other eye. So similarly, the MTF and Stirls ratio were much poorer. We did a C-Quant to measure the intraocular stray light. Both eyes compared quite well on the C-Quant. And coming to earlier studies that were done on image quality, were mostly restricted to vision and contrast sensitivity, and nobody had really studied the optical quality in either of these lenses, as a comparison, I mean. And a group that studied the contrast in different spatial frequencies actually found that Sulcoflex IOLs did marginally better than primary multifocal IOLs in high spatial frequencies, otherwise they were comparable. So as a discussion, in our case, the distance and near vision were comparable. However, the visual metrics was much worse in the eye with the Sulcoflex IOL or the piggyback IOL. So, in conclusion, I have to accept that it's just one case, so we cannot make generalized conclusions from here. But in our case, the primary multifocal IOL did better than the Sulcoflex. But it's still a good option for those patients who have already undergone monofocal IOL implantation and are looking for spectacle independence. It's very important, however, to have proper pre-operative counseling. Because the patient should be able to accept that his visual quality might not be as good as in a person who has had a primary multifocal IOL. And considering the poor optical scatter index and modulation transfer function, it should be used in caution with those who drive extensively at night. However, this would also hold true for those people who are going in for a primary multifocal IOL. Extensive drivers should be counseled well. So this is the option. It might be an option for patients who have already undergone monofocal IOLs. Thank you.
For a situation like one eye received monofocal and the other eye received multifocal IOL. One eye received multifocal and the other eye received monofocal IOL.
Yes.
And you want to correct the refractive state of this patient who received monofocal in the eye which is under question. You have not compared this method with the other available methods.
The best option. We went through the other options that we could have offered to the patient. Like one was explantation with a toric multifocal, but if you remember, sometime back last year, they had some licensing issues, so they were not able to bring in the toric multifocal lenses. So at that point, we didn't have any other option that we could give to the patient. We were not able to give him a toric multifocal IOL. So which is why we had to, at that point it wasn't available for us.
Now when it is available and
yes,
approved,
yeah.
we can certainly consider that as an option.
Definitely, it can be considered.
How do you say that this is a superior method? Because then it is certainly going to interfere. Monofocal lens is already there.
Yes.
It is going to interfere with the quality in terms of the optical qualities.
Yeah.
And there may be a lot of the aberrations that are induced by the monofocal itself. So unless that lens is out and you put another lens,
yes, I understand. So initially, however, the limitation of our study is that it's only one case, but that again is very difficult because we don't have that many patients who might come with one eye monofocal and the other eye not having undergone surgery, wanting another option. So to actually conduct a study which involves large number of either only one sulcoflex in one eye comparing a multifocal or comparing just monofocal with a multifocal is difficult in the same patient. Because we haven't really, this was the only case we've done. We have another patient that is lined up for surgery now, but the whole process itself is limited to a very small group of patients. So it's really difficult to conduct a large study as far as this is concerned.
A small series and lack of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good morning to members of the chair and delegates. I'm Dr. Varun from Narayan Nethralaya, Bangalore, and I'll be speaking about the visual function and quality of light with different grades of pseudophakic monovision. We have no financial disclosure to make. Was to assess visual outcomes and patient satisfaction levels in post-cataract patients with various degrees of pseudophakic monovision. The inclusion criteria of 56 eyes of 28 patients were included in the study. Patients with uneventful cataract surgery in the first eye with an unaided visual acuity of 20 by 30 or better were included. Any patients with any ocular comorbid conditions were removed, and only the patients with good visual potential in the phakic eye were included. Also, the patients went through an extensive counseling session before they opted for good. Patients selected were made myopic in the second eye based on their perceived needs, whether they had more near work to do or more intermediate work to do, and they were divided among two groups: the mild monovision, 0.5 to 1.5 diopter, and the moderate monovision, which were 1.5 to 2.5 diopter. All surgeries were done by the same surgeon with the same technique, phacoemulsification by 2.8 diagonal temporal incision, and foldable acrylic IOLs were put. All surgeries were uneventful. Post-operatively, final refraction was done at 6 weeks. At the same visit, the patient was also requested to answer the VF14 QOL questionnaire. The VF14 questionnaire was the main tool of our study. It was originally developed to assess the functional impairment in cataract patients. It possesses adequate psychometric properties, has a concise format, easy to administer, and has been validated internationally. Post-operatively, the patients were divided into 3 groups based on their spectacle acceptance. The mild monovision group, 0.5 to 1.5 diopter, moderate monovision group, 1.75 to 2.5 diopter, and the high monovision group, which had a myopia in the second eye of more than 2.5 diopter. The VF14 scores for patients in all the 3 groups were analyzed. We used the Kruskal-Wallis test to test for difference between mean of the 3 groups, as the data was not normally distributed. We then used the repeated Wilcoxon rank sum test with Pantheroni's correction for post-hoc testing. Here the p-value is not 0.05, but because we are testing 3 groups, it was 0.0125. The mean age of the patients was 59 years. The best corrected distance in near visual acuity in both the groups, all 3 groups, was better than 20 by 30 and N8. The mean scores of all the 3 groups were 94 for the mild monovision, 97 for moderate monovision, 96.58 for the high monovision. The p-value here was not significant. Coming to the discussion, satisfaction levels in monovision have been well documented in literature. Previous studies have mentioned various degrees of monovision from 1 to 1.5 to even up to 2.75 diopter. We decided to take it a step further and give patients different levels of monovision depending on their perceived needs. Patients whose lifestyle required more of intermediate work like watching a computer or more of TV, etc., were given mild monovision. People who required more near work, whose jobs entailed reading and writing or desk jobs, were given moderate monovision. High monovision was a group which was not initially planned, but as such were refractive surprises where the moderate monovision group got slightly overcorrected. However, the number was substantial, and that is why we included them in the study. Conclusion. While considering patients for monovision, as a general rule, we can go for 1.5 to 2.5 diopter range in the second eye, because although the scores were not statistically significantly different, the moderate monovision group did score better than the others. However, the key point that we would like to emphasize here is that the degree of monovision can be altered or adjusted based on the person's individual needs. And this we could see because there were patients right from 0.5 to 3 diopters, but all scored high in the questionnaire. So if you give the patient a monovision that suits the patient's lifestyle, the satisfaction levels would be high. You can't make a generalized rule that I'll give 1.5 to 2.5 to everyone. So a little bit of counseling, a little bit of judgment on our part, and this would lead to better satisfaction levels. Thank you.
An alternative to the multifocals. But you have not put any control in terms of the multifocal, because that would have completed the study.
So it's a poor man's multifocal who cannot afford multifocals, but still would like to be.
I appreciate, but in science we cannot go by
Definitely.
emotions, we go by the logic.
Definitely.
And we have to have a comparison with the multifocal.
Yeah, but
before we really comment on that.
Absolutely, sir. But this was not a comparative study, and I wasn't saying it is better than multifocal. I just want to assess the satisfaction.
I have a question. How did you make your groups? Like how many groups did you make?
2, sir.
And
To begin with. Mild to moderate.
In your study, were there many groups or 2 groups only?
So that's what I mentioned, sir. That pre-operatively, we had divided the patients into 2 groups. But post-operatively, we got a substantial number, in fact 12 eyes, which were more than the moderate group, and that is they ended up with overcorrection.
So what were these 2 groups?
Mild, moderate, and high monovision.
So what do you mean by mild?
Mild was 0.5 to 1.5 diopter.
What is that? What is this range?
Myopia in the other eye. No, it is arbitrary, sir. We did not.
0.5 to 1.5. Did you aim for 1.5
Yes, sir.
or 0.5?
So 1, mostly 1, but we did.
What else?
I understand
You
your
have
question.
to aim for a specific thing. No,
Yes.
you have made 2 groups. There has to be 2 specific numbers, either 1 or 2 or 0.5, whatever it is. You can't have a range 0.5 to 1.5 in a group and then 1.5 to 2.5 in a group.
Absolutely.
You can have surprises, but you have to aim for a specific figure, then you may land up in
Exactly.
surprise. So that's what my question was. What was your aim?
So the aim was, when you see the IOL master, or you would see the lens star, the emetropic power is given in decibels.
Right.
So we were generally aiming between 1 to 1.5, but we expected, depending, some patients would have 1.27, some patients would have 1.15, 1.2, so they're random numbers. You can't cut them off. So we made a range. Post-operatively, the readings that we got, we could not do it based on the AR fine range we used. But in the mild monovision group, we aimed between 1 to 1.5, which was better suited to the patient's need.
But you did not go for a specific figure
No,
like
sir.
1 or 2.
No, sir, we did not. Because we used the IOL master and it has those decibels, emetropia 1 above, 2 below. So.
Thank you. This became on use of French numbers.
Respected Chair, today my topic is nuances of intracameral transneuron after uncomplicated cataract surgery in adult Indian population. No financial interest. Aim is to study the